Tewes! B-movie mic reviews! B-movie mic reviews! B-movie mic reviews!
Hey, this is B-Movie Mike, and what I have for you this week is a review of a gem of a slasher film from 1981, one of the second-tier slasher films that really doesn't get talked about enough, but that movie is Eyes of a Stranger. Eyes of a Stranger was directed by Ken Wiederhorn. Some of his other directorial efforts include Shockwaves and Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Eyes of a Stranger stars Lauren Tewes, who was at the time a big TV star thanks to the TV show The Love Boat. And Eyes of a Stranger features the motion picture debut of Jennifer Jason Leigh. Of course, as we know now, Jennifer would go on to enjoy a very successful acting career, appearing in such films as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Hitcher, and Single White Female. Eyes of a Stranger also has the distinction of being brought to us by the same production company that brought us the original Friday the 13th. These two movies have another thing in common. The special makeup effects for both films were done by special makeup effects master Tom Savini. The story for Eyes of a Stranger takes place in Miami Beach, Florida, where a serial killer has been on a rampage raping and murdering women. A local TV news anchorwoman, Jane Harris, has taken a personal interest in the story due to the fact that when they were in grade school, her younger sister Tracy was kidnapped, beaten, molested, and almost killed. The emotional trauma that she experienced was so intense that her sister has been left blind and deaf because of the incident. Her sister Tracy now lives with her in a fancy high-rise Miami Beach apartment. And as the killings continue, Jane becomes more obsessed with finding the killer because Tracy spends a lot of time alone by herself, and she's afraid that the ultimate thing could happen, the worst thing she could ever think of, and that would be Tracy being attacked again. So she has made it her mission in life to find out who this killer is and make sure that the police catch him before he has a chance to come after Tracy. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail and ruin it for everybody. Eyes of a Stranger is considered to be a second-tier slasher film, but I actually think it's much better than that. And even though it's produced by the same production company that gave us Friday the 13th, it doesn't really feel like a Friday the 13th movie. It feels more like a Brian De Palma film. And I say that because of the suspenseful, dreamlike quality of some of it. There's some flashback sequences, and there are a few Brian De Palma films that this film kind of reminded me of. Blowout, Dress to Kill, and Body Double. Those were the three Brian De Palma films that came to my mind as I was watching Eyes of a Stranger. Now, I'm not saying Eyes of a Stranger is as good as any of those films, but it's good enough to bring to mind those films. And to me, I thought that was a pretty good accomplishment for a low-budget slasher film. But I think that's due to the fact that the direction is above average in this film. Ken Wiederhorn really did a really good job of setting up a suspenseful story with some scares and some chills and some blood. Yes, I'm happy to say that there's some pretty good kills in this film. Of course, that really doesn't come as a surprise, considering that Tom Savini's the one doing the special makeup effects. In one scene in particular, the killer sneaks up behind this woman's boyfriend and chops his head off with a meat cleaver. She finds the body and then finds the head inside the fish tank. That scene in particular was very well done, and there's some other really cool, memorable kills in it as well. Overall, the acting's pretty good. Lorraine Tewes and Jennifer Jason Leigh do a great job in their roles. John DeSante did a good job as the killer, but the guy who played Lorraine Tewes' boyfriend in the film, the lawyer, he didn't do a very good job. I wasn't really impressed with him as an actor, and as a matter of fact, he really kind of brought down every scene he was in and kind of made me wish it was over with a little sooner. But other than that, no real negatives against the acting. The lighting was good, the editing was good, and the sound design added a lot to the film as well. Another thing I thought was pretty cool about the film was that the killer drove a black Ford Thunderbird. And during one of Jane's flashbacks, we see that the child molester that abducted her sister Tracy also drove a black Ford. That to me kind of provides a connection between the past and the present. Is it the same guy that's going around killing people now that abducted her sister Tracy back then? The film never really goes into it, but it's kind of an interesting coincidence. But in the film world, nothing is ever a coincidence, and it's usually done on purpose, so that just leaves me to wonder if that was part of a side story that was eventually cut out of the film. And I also need to mention the one scene where Jane and her boyfriend are leaving the movie theater. We see a little tribute to Tom Savini in the form of a movie poster. That poster is for the movie Dawn of the Dead, and of course he also did the special makeup effects for that film as well. In 2007, Warner Brothers released Eyes of a Stranger on DVD as part of their Twisted Terror collection. And what's great about this release is that it has 6 more minutes in it than the original theatrical cut, and they restore much of Tom Savini's work, giving the kills that much more impact, which is always a good thing. Well, in conclusion, I can definitely say that I fully enjoyed Eyes of a Stranger, and if you're a fan of slasher films like I am, I can definitely highly recommend that you check this movie out. Well, that concludes my review of 1981's Eyes of a Stranger, and as we all know, next week is Friday the 13th, and in honor of Friday the 13th, I will be reviewing the first 4 Friday the 13th films all in one video. In the meantime, please check out all the awesome YouTube channels located down there in my More Channels of Movie Madness box, and as always, thanks for watching.